welcome everybody to part two of Wisdom Chats. I'm Susie Verdi, and tonight we have a lovely guest. She's Simran Singh. She's the author of IPPY Gold Award winning Conversations with the Universe, Your Journey to Enlightenment, and Your Journey to Love is publisher of the award-winning 1111 magazine and number one rated 1111 talk show radio. Hey, Simran, welcome back.
Oh, thank you, Susie. I'm looking forward to another great time with you and some deep conversation.
Oh, yes, yeah. It's impossible not to go deep with Simran, I'll tell you. She was sharing with me that she's a Pisces. And I'll tell you what, we go all the way deep here. It's just keeps getting more and more interesting as we go along. On part one of the interview, we ended up talking about rhythms and how the feminine is all about the possibility of going within and feeling what feels right. And by that connection with ourselves, our deep selves, we find this core point that is so powerful that actually helps you to really be very productive, but without pushing, which is almost like the masculine way, trying to do things. And if you actually start to go the other way around and cultivate the beingness, then so much more is possible. And Simran was commenting on that, and I would love to deepen that idea and ask you, Simran, how do you see breathing, the practice of breathing and mindfulness as important practices to actually reach and contact that space?
Yes, of course. Actually, that makes me want to do a quick exercise with all of you. And before we do that, I want to talk about how creation came into being. Creation was birthed from a feminine essence. It was birthed from feminine energy. So it came from the void. It came from darkness. It came from a no space, no thing kind of realm. And it was the dreaming and the sitting and the receiving and the waiting and the holding of space that allowed the ember of an inspired spark or an inspiration to come forward. And creation only came forth from inspired action, but it came into inspired action first from that waiting period, from that stillness period. Mm-hmm. Very much like birthing, when a woman gives birth, the time of pregnancy, it is the waiting period. That is the time of growing. It is the time when things are expanding. It is the time of the inspired action that is taking place, and then the baby births. Mm-hmm. And so if we look at life, if we look at rhythms, if we look at every endeavor that we ever go into, from that space, breathing is the mirror or the replica of that. And so I'm going to ask everyone to close their eyes and go into a space, and I'll show you exactly how we can more powerfully step in and align with creation than control and use our identity to try to create. So you're going to close your eyes. You're going to take a deep breath, focusing in on your heart. And you're going to allow your breath to go very deeply into your body and then exhale. And notice how that is a little bit even deeper than what you perhaps normally do. It is more of a conscious breath. And do that a few more times, just deeply inhaling and exhaling. And after you've had a couple of breaths like this, now I want you to deepen that breath to where your inhale is a count of 4, 6, or 8, and your exhale is a count of 4, 6, or 8. And what you'll notice is an even deeper relaxation takes place. A slowing down starts to happen. You'll notice that your body even wants to shift a little bit more. And so now I want you to follow the rhythm of my words. Inhale, in love. Hold the breath. of love. Exhale with love. Hold the space as love. Now inhale in love. Hold the breath of love. Exhale with love. Hold the space as love. Inhale the ideas of creation. Hold the breath of the ideas of creation. Exhale the ideas of creation. Hold the space for the ideas of creation. Inhale creation. Hold the breath of creation. Exhale creation. Hold the space for creation. That rhythm of breath is the rhythm of the universe. And you can bring yourself slowly back into the space, gently opening your eyes. But if you notice what took place there, it is the inhale, allowing something to come in, to marinate inside, to deepen into the cells and expand and course through. And then it's holding it. It's embracing it. It's loving it. It's being with it. That is holding the breath of it. And then to exhale that back out, because it is the breath of creation that creates things. It doesn't necessarily need the hands. It simply needs that lovemaking to put it back out into the world. And then as we put it back out into the world, it is that pause between that and the next exhale that you are holding the space for creation. It is already in the ethers. It is already out there as a possibility. And by holding the space of that, what we allow is then the universe to be interdependent with us, to co-create with us, to line things up, to bring the people, the places, the things into alignment to allow creation to then happen.
We're actually creating intention on that holding space, creating intention that inspiration is coming as just a natural rhythm of the universe, creating intention to be a vessel.
Yes, and we're doing it from a place of emptiness and freeness, because all we're focusing on is the breath.
That's why it's so important to be empty. You know, you can't be full of things, ideas, or even yourself if it is that you really want to become a vessel of what's possible.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I love it. You know, you say something, Simran, that I think it's so beautiful too. That creation is one of the most important things that one can, one of the most important qualities that one can develop in a lifetime. And I love that. I love that. I always think of creation as this amazing, beautiful, vibrant quality that is warm, that is juicy, that is palpable. And that, and some people think that it's out there just for some lucky ones, right? Oh, the creative ones, the fun ones. But it's really inside of all of us. And
we are creative capacity. We are the sons and daughters of creation. And so the only thing we can be is creative capacity. And in that sense of creative capacity, we're creating all the time, whether we know it or not. We're creating unconsciously and we're creating consciously.
What we want and what we don't, we think we don't want. Exactly.
Exactly. When things are showing up in our lives that we don't like or that seem challenging or difficult, that is the unconscious that is creating that. And those are valuable blessings. Those are important things that we're creating, because it is showing to us the very beliefs, the paradigms, the structures, the identities that we've taken on that are really not who we are. That is the gift of those things that show up. And then the things that we create consciously, there too, we have to decide, where is that coming from? Are we allowing it to come from that place of breath where it's just being inspired and breathed out and allowing the universe to support us in manifesting something that it desires to manifest through us? Or are we controlling and saying, this is who I came here to be, and I need to make this and that and the other? And so it's this balance of getting to know ourselves, and whether we want to live from the identity of a smaller self, or whether we want to live from the identity of
which
the
brings
self.
us to the idea of choice and the importance of making that core choice. I love, I always talk a lot about the choice element in life as one of the most important things we can do, as because in a way, everything that you choose is directly connected to your ability to choose. So an example, if you are choosing I don't know, a hamburger versus some healthier foods, nourishing foods, you're making a choice right there. Maybe you don't know that junk food is not good for you. Maybe you think that you can't choose something else because you're addicted to that. Maybe you're doing it because somebody else is doing it. Whatever is your reason, but we can't deny that it is a choice. And
Yes.
we can't deny it's a choice. And then for everything in life, right, there is an element of choice. How is that we are reacting to life as it's unfolding ahead of us? And I love what you said about, well, there is a choice between choosing between your small identity versus your higher identity. And so here's a very simple question for really addressing that in a very clear way to people that are listening to us. How could somebody know that he or she is choosing from their higher identity versus from their smaller identity? What would you say?
So I believe that we are actually here to unite the two. That we are that one is serving the other, and that the smaller self is here as the space of experience, and that the higher self is actually serving the smaller self. Most people would think it's the other way around, that the small self is here to serve the higher self, but they're intertwined. And so to me, it's more of a lining up, because when we line up ourselves to such a degree, then all of a sudden we come to a place of no choice. And so if we're making a choice between one or the other, we're creating a duality. And that is one of the steps that we have to move through, because that's how we step into discernment, to at least become a little more conscious that we live from different vibrations and we can choose different things. But then all of a sudden, when we realize that this smaller self is actually our shadow self, and that it has made every choice and every step in its life purely because it loved the highest self enough to go through all of that for the highest self to re-experience its own greatness, then all of a sudden we just realize that we are the lover and the beloved. And they are coming together in this union of matrimony and love to create the experience of life together. And so in that place, all of a sudden, the only choice becomes love. And when the choice becomes love, then the small self only chooses what's in its highest good, and the higher self only chooses what's in its highest good. And those end up being one and the same.
But don't you think that I totally get and agree with what you said, but like on a scale in which, on a daily level, when people are actually living their daily lives and learning how to respect themselves and love themselves more by choices that are more supportive of their growth. If only, I see it happening so many times, if only we're more connected to who we really are on a larger scale, and we start to really admire and love who we are, then almost like we seem to be automatically we're enabled to flow through life from a space of more wisdom and beauty, just because there's something else. It's that recognition and realization that we do matter, and that we're part of something very beautiful. And eventually I would imagine that, yes, somebody would realize that beautiful, powerful oneness love that is, it is all, is the synthesis. Would you agree that there's a process of awakening?
I do think that for many
Lord?
people, there is a process where they become more conscious. I have a little bit different view when it comes to choice, because I think that there are certain smaller choices that we can make. And then I think there's a great deal of life that is just already ordained. It's already happened. It's what it's meant to be, because there are those individuals in our lives and in our greater world that are here to illustrate lower vibrations, lower densities, to be the villain, so to speak, so that we become more empowered, so that we make the better choices, so that we have something to choose.
I love what you said.
Duality.
Yeah, I love what you said. You know, the villains that show up in your life so that we can.
I call them usually.
I love it. As a matter of fact, they're our greater masters, right?
Yes.
So, you know, really stop thinking anything about whoever did you wrong, because in a bigger scale of things, they're really teaching you to be wiser.
Yes, yes. You know, a lot of people go to India to find gurus, and if you really go to a guru, they're going to actually treat you pretty bad.
Exactly.
They're going to have you do all kinds of things to have you learn certain lessons. So why not take those people in our lives, those angels in disguise, and understand that they really are cultivating your greatness. They're allowing you to make the decision and the discernment as to when to choose to step into your power.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Oh, Simran, we could talk for so long. Yeah, it's never enough time. We're coming to a close of our interview today. Hopefully, we'll continue conversation, and in the future, digging and, you know, swimming along this beautiful ocean. And I just wanted to ask you, just for you to complete for me a few sentences. So, what could change the world is
individuals being present. Your presence is enough. Just be present to what is.
An awakened individual is someone who?
I don't believe that we have a difference between awake and asleep. I believe that we're all asleep. We will always all be asleep. We will wake up when we leave this planet. Until then, we are asleep. And if we can rest into that and enjoy the fact that we're asleep, and enjoy the dream to the fullest of our ability, and understand that we are living a lucid dream, that we have the power to take the choices and the steps in, then all of a sudden we let go of the control, and we let go of the need for it to be different.
So when you say we're all sleeping, you mean we're all unaware of a much deeper or larger reality?
A lot of people say, there's awakening, or I'm awake. You can't. There's no middle place of awakening. You can't be half asleep and awake at the same time. Even the most so-called awake of us is unconscious. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. And we have to first embrace that, because you can find many of even the most spiritual teachers, and they still do unconscious things. And so we have to really first accept the fact that we came here to be in a place where we didn't truly know our full self, and embrace that unconsciousness. Because until we're willing to say, I might not be awake, I might actually be very much asleep and not know anything, only then can we have the innocence to actually have a realization of what could be possible as far as greatness. Anything else that we think.
And what is possible from the space of the consciousness of sleep?
Anything is possible. We were put in a virtual reality where we could create anything. We could make up anything. We do make up everything. And so we're in this space specifically for that reason. We are creative capacity. So we're able to create it however we want. But for us to believe that our small minds could possibly fathom the greatness of what truly exists is another way that we distract ourselves and fool ourselves into truly knowing. And so it's better for us to dive into our humanity and understand that there's nowhere to ascend to. There's nothing out there to try to rise up into. The greatest gift that we could do is to dive into our humanity.
Yeah, I love the idea of not having to go somewhere. I personally, when I hear people saying, you know, there's like this specific path in India that they teach people how to get enlightened. And I always think, for me, that sounds very almost like, you know, paradoxical, because enlightenment is not something that you move towards. It's something that it's the consequence of, you know, a sparkle of grace whenever it happens. But it's not even the final goal, really. It's so much about bringing the consciousness to each moment, to being at each moment, as awake as you can, or following your line of thought, you know, as consciously asleep as you can.
Yes, yes. You can be consciously unconscious.
Correct.
That is the highest that we can possibly fathom at this point.
There you go.
That's a great thing. To be consciously unconscious is a very, very big thing. And that also gets rid of the hierarchy, because we also create a hierarchy when we want to label one being or ourselves as enlightened and another as not.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Create more division in the world.
Yeah. All the egos, right? It's like, oh, you're not enlightened enough.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Final question. So the most important step towards a fulfilling life is
to deepen into oneself so much that you are present to every emotion and every feeling. To discover that true intimacy is first with yourself. And when you can truly be intimate and vulnerable with yourself, only then can you extend true compassion and vulnerability to the world.
Beautiful. Feel like taking a deep breath.
Yes, that's a good one. There's nowhere to go. Everything that has to be done is sitting right where you are.
There you go. There you go. Simran, it's been a pleasure. Oh my God. So to our viewers, this wonderful, beautiful woman here is Simran Singh. She's the author of IPPY Gold Award-winning Conversations with the Universe, Your Journey to Enlightenment and Your Journey to Love, is publisher of the award-winning 1111 magazine and the #1 rated 1111 Talk Radio. Wow.
Oh, thank you, Susie. Thank you so much. It's been a delight to be with you and your viewers.
Likewise. And to the viewers, this is Wisdom Chats. I am Susie Verde. I hope you continue to watch our shows. We always have those amazing people. What can I say? I'm so lucky. Oh my God, that's wonderful. So thank you, Simran, and much joy, beauty, and light on your path. Please check Simran's work. The books are beautiful. The 1111 Talk Radio also is very, very interesting, has amazing guests, and the themes are, as you can imagine, as anything Simran does, full of meaning, content, and inspiration. So thank you so much, Simran.
Yes, in love, of love, with love, and as love. Be well.
Be well. Okay. Good night.